And we are back for an all-new episode of Keep It. I'm Ira Madison III.
And I'm Louis Fertel, and it wouldn't be Pride Month if I weren't apologizing for something. And here I am apologizing that my voice is effing shot. The rasp in my voice, I don't know if it's a cold or a condition or what, but I'm giving you pure Kim Carnes this week. And so I may launch into a Betty Davis Eyes reprise at some point.
I've seen at least one or two trivia things where people cannot remember who sings that.
Kim Carnes? Well, every time I watch USA for Africa, We Are the World, I'm like, where the hell is Kim Carnes? She's still alive. Her rasp is probably raspier than ever. She should be at the top of her craft right now.
Maybe they invited Kim Asada.
Maybe. Oh, so what? What was that joke?
Carne Asada.
Oh, I see. I need to leave. I need to go to do anything else with my life other than this podcast.
My worst joke ever.
Yeah. Does that even count? Okay.
Well, it is Pride Month. There's a lot going on already. I feel like I look at my calendar and I want to go back to sleep.
I buy a lot of tickets and then forget I buy the tickets, which is a new radical millennial version of dementia that everybody else should have too.
No, I was at this live taping Sunday of Vibe Check podcast, the one that Saeed and Zach and Sam Sanders host, and they were talking about dating apps in the context of this, and I feel like it sort of applies to gay tickets for things too. They were talking about how a lot of these apps and general apps on your phone are background capitalism. That's what they're described as, and it's sort of things where you have automatic recurring charges and you just sort of forget about them. Then you find out, why have I been charged $10 a month for something, and you've forgotten about it, and then by the time you realize it, you paid like $90 this year.
Oh no,
right?
I was just thinking about some trivia app that I signed up for during the pandemic so that I could write questions for my friends. Still being charged for that. What? They just kept right on going. Yeah.
Adobe is always charging me. I did get my $60 back from Adobe, and tickets for that though feel the same, whether it's concert tickets, whether it's like gay pride things. It's someone drops a link in the group chat and you're like, oh yeah, I'll buy this, just because you're like, maybe I'll be going to this, and then you either forget about it or you don't use it or you have to resell it because you don't want to be the person hunting for tickets to something.
Right. It's a fear of that. That's why you buy the ticket. Right.
To have to do that Instagram post, hey, anybody got a ticket to insert party?
Right. And then I, murmured to myself, he seems broke,
Like I did today to try to get a friend, not even myself because I have a ticket, a friend ticket to see Miss Charli XCX's Brat concert tonight in New York City, which is coming to LA this weekend.
That's where the queens are going to be this weekend. Wow. We had LA Pride this past weekend where Ricky Martin brought out the bonbon, shook it for us. Everybody was thrilled. And then last weekend was Kylie Minogue who performed, and Kesha among others. And of course, I realized that LGBT stands for Let's Go Bully Tinashe. Lots of Tinashe jokes.
You know what? There should be less Tinashe jokes now, especially with Nasty ratcheting up the charts. It hit 90, I think, on the Hot 100 now.
You said that with pride in your eyes. I mean,
I am proud of her.
I love the song. I love her. I've always loved her. We'll get into her during the Charli XCX segment. Anyway, what is going on this episode?
Well, I mean, speaking of Miss Brat herself, we are going to talk about her brand new album, Brat.
And talk about how, like, the chokehold she has over a certain hemisphere of the gay community. I really think people are, like, as intense as pop-loving gay fans can be, they really are directing a lot of their energy at her right now, and we will maybe solve why.
Yeah, and also it seems to be escaping that sphere for really the first time with how well this album is being reviewed and how well this album is just doing on the charts so far globally, to be honest, but especially here in the States. And it also feels like people are paying more attention to her because she did, shocker, an actual album rollout.
Right. Oh, yes. She decided to be a part of the biz as opposed to sort of rolling alongside it.
She promoted her actual album instead of sending out a tweet saying, hey, my album's dropping tomorrow. Oh, okay. Let me rush out and get that.
By the way, relatable. Self-promotion I find to be like a horrifying and skeevy process, so I sort of do get it, but it's nice to see her formally get it together. And then also we'll be talking about actors on actors, because this rarely happens. Somebody came up to me, my friend Tracy, and he said, please tell me you're talking about Kim Kardashian and Chloë Sevigny this week. And I said, well, now that you requested it, it's all I'm thinking about. It is a fascinating interview, and we'll be talking about what we get out of the Actors on Actors video series, the best ones, why they're good, why they're sometimes so bad. And there are a couple that I'm thinking of that make me so upset. But the Kim K and Chloe one is provocative for new reasons, and we'll get into those.
It's provocative. It gets the people going.
Provocative, which is a word that, as you know, Christina Aguilera used to describe herself for about 10 straight years when no one was being provoked at all. So that's very interesting.
It was also my spy name, Agent Provocateur.
Oh, right. And they were like, that's already a thing. You can't call yourself that.
Yeah, I was always getting made. Also, we have the fantastic and hilarious Ross Matthews with us. No,
good guess.
Meg Stalter is joining us this week. I feel like you always have to say Ross Matthews if you say hilarious.
Right. No, his name is the hilarious Ross Matthews now. Okay, a couple years ago when Meg Stalter put out that video that began with "Hi Gay," I don't think I have ever seen two words take over a party scene like that in the past 15, 20 years. Everywhere you went was "Hi Gay." So I'm here to punish her for putting that in my ears for that long of time. This will be an intervention.
You're bringing her to the red table.
Yes. Oh my God, the red table. Oh, I miss it.
Jada's not using it anymore.
I know. They should have it on PBS for talks.
Is it in the Smithsonian?
Right, next to like Fonzie's jacket.
Yeah, and the cortisone cream that they put on Chris Rock's face.
Displayed. People getting tearful walking by it.
We're also going to talk about that shit. I know you're tired of the slap, but when we get to my keep it, believe it or not, I have some more things to say.
Oh no, a conversation about the Academy Awards. I hate it.
All right, when we're back, more keep it. Can you hear that, Lewis?
I can't actually. Very barely.
The sound of my heart is going boom clap.
Oh, you palpitations?
I'm boom clapping over this album.
Oh.
This new Charli XCX album, Brat. There's a lot going on with this album.
Yeah.
First of all, great. Let's put that out there. And I want to know specifically how this album has seeped into your life first. Because it's expected for me to be devouring like all things Charli XCX. But for you, like, how has this come to you?
Right. I walk in a wizened old matron, and, you know, I expect nothing of anybody, let alone the children. And I pick the album up. There are a couple songs I enjoy. But to be honest, I'm not positive what people are finding so revolutionary about it. To me, her feel is very sort of Kim Petras. You know, just like there's an impishness. There's that literal, I mean, like, the album is called Brat, and that is the aesthetic of the album. But otherwise, I was sort of missing the delicious hook. I was missing the thing that's really like just that espresso thing that will like pull me back again and again and again like candy that I have to keep getting. That said, there are a couple songs I fucking love on this album. I love Apple. I love Sympathy is a Knife.
Yes.
But in general, like songs like Von Dutch, I think here's where we are on both sides of a knife. You either find that brattiness endearing or, frankly, a little fucking annoying. And I kind of do find a lot of the album annoying.
Okay. I would say songs like Von Dutch is very much just the kind of shit I like to hear in the club. You know, at a rave. You know, that is why I'm into it. That, like, 360, first of all, I think is one of, like, her best pop songs ever.
360, and I like B2B, too.
Yeah, yes, that's a really good one. And then 365 at the end, like, it really closes it out. What's interesting about this album for me is that she's returning to her roots in a way, but no, this one feels like a statement album from her in the way that sort of Self-Titled was for Beyonce. You know, just because she's done so many genres. The last album was the main pop girl album. That was Crash, and that one was very much, she was giving you choreography, she was giving you hooks, like it felt like mega pop girl presenting.
Yes.
You know? And before that, though, you know, she had How I'm Feeling Now, her sort of pandemic era album, and then, you know, we had Pop 2, and I think that she's really sort of been a lot of like dance, electronic, hyperpop music before, and then she went in that pop arena, and she's obviously written pop songs for other people before, but this was her being like, I can be one of those main pop girls, and it's always this interest in fame and the deconstruction of it, and singing about it, and sort of acting famous, acting like a star vibe that she's always taken on. She embraced that fully with Crash, but then with this album, it's like she was sort of rejecting it and sort of embracing I don't have to be that famous because I'm cool, you know, like I'm a star. In this era of her career, it feels like she's taking all of those things and putting them together. I think that's what I'm seeing in the album. I mean, there are some like really good club bangers on this, but then there are also some sort of quieter moments from her on the album, like So I, which is of course samples some Sophie and references her relationship with Sophie and Sophie's death, and how, you know, she still thinks about her friend who inspired her, but then also, you know, how it's hard to sing those songs that Sophie had written for her when she's performing live. I really love Sympathy Is a Knife, as you said you did too, which feels very, I don't know, there are a lot of ways to interpret that song. One, people were interpreting it as a Taylor Swift dig.
Which somebody's got to be putting those out there. You know, I know people are like scared, but it's like, if you're a pop star in this universe, like 25% of your time is probably devoted to thinking about how this person is a one-person industry. So I think that's just valid.
And the reason people think that it is a Taylor Swift dig, which I'm going to read you these lyrics first. This one girl touts my insecurities. Don't know if it's real or if I'm spiraling. One voice tells me that they laugh. George says I'm paranoid. Says he doesn't see it. He's so naive. And then she says, don't want to see her backstage at my boyfriend's show. Fingers crossed behind my back. I hope they break up quick because I couldn't even be her if I tried. And this, of course, seems to be referencing when Taylor Swift was dating Maddie Healy. And Charli XCX is, of course, engaged to George Daniel from the 1975. And she would have been backstage at the show when she came out at that one 1975 concert to perform Anti-Hero.
Wow, thank you for red stringing that all together for me. You should really get into QAnon. Like Taylor Swift fans.
That's one way to interpret it, obviously. And honestly, it's not even really a dig at Taylor Swift.
Yeah, it doesn't really sound
so
like
much
one.
As it's not even really a dig. It's sort of just examining your own insecurities with having to be around the biggest fucking pop star in the world, right? And then also when you think about their history, Charli opened for Taylor back on the 1989 tour, I believe. It was 1989 or Reputation. I think it was 1989. No, it was Reputation.
Did I maybe see her come out at Reputation? I think that's right. Yeah. Because I went to that tour. Remember when I went to that tour? Mind blowing.
Yeah. So she opened for her, you know, and like there have been plenty of people who've opened for Taylor Swift and have gone on to, etc. You know, Shawn Mendes, Troye Sivan,
yes,
and Camila Cabello. I would say, you know, Camila Cabello is probably the one who's gotten the biggest career since then. But then you have like a Sabrina Carpenter even recently having, you know, this big sort of like explosion in her career post that. But Charli XCX is still sort of, you know, on the other side, as she says. So I could see being insecure.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like any of those lyrics are a dig at her. I will say, if you don't interpret it in that way, one way that I first listened to the song was, you know, don't want to see her backstage at my boyfriend's show. Fingers crossed behind my back. I hope they break up quick. I was sort of seeing that as like you see the boy that you are really into already in a relationship with someone and you're hoping that they break up so that you can have them.
Right. Yeah, no, those lyrics I think are palatable, etc. By the way, before we get further into this conversation, you do not like the new Sabrina Carpenter song.
Girl, it is bad.
I'm so surprised to hear that. To me, it sounds a little bit like an ABBA ballad. We're talking about Please, Please, Please. This is the second single from Sabrina Carpenter off this coming album, which I think is going to change lives, namely mine. But the swimmy synths of it, I said it sounds like it sounds like what I think of is a mermaid fluttering her eyelashes. Like you are fully in the throes of summer cartoony iconography when you listen to this song. And it also sounds to me a little bit like something that would belong on the Xanadu soundtrack. So something very early 80s, dreamy, with a great vocal.
First of all, Jack Antonoff is Jack Antonoff has nothing on ELO. Okay, baby? Let's not ever go there. 2, sounding like a mermaid. It sounds like she's drowning when you listen to the song. I don't know. I'm just so sick of his production. It's
funny you say that. It doesn't sound to me like anything he's ever done before.
Okay. When you listen to this song, it's not going to sound like anything that you ever heard before. Okay, you got to listen a second time. You're like, oh, what is that?
What? Okay. Thanks
you sound
for
like
explaining
Nicki
that.
Minaj describing Massive Attack. I don't know. It just didn't hit me, and maybe I don't want to call it a grower. Because when will I listen to it again? But I feel like I was just sort of balking against following up Espresso with this,
right?
Like it's
such an
girl.
electric kind of teenage dream type hook, and then this is, something much more soothing and much more ASMR-y, really.
Yeah, it's not even dream pop, okay? It's dream snap and crackle.
Wow, I love those boys. The Rice Krispies girls?
The Rice Krispies are wet, and they've been in the bowl of milk for far too long, and now they're just soggy.
They are.
That is what the song is to me.
Rice Krispies have to be the most unpleasantly soggy material you could ever put in your mouth.
Yes.
It's just fully cardboard after a certain time. Anyway, back to Charli XCX. What's interesting is you talk about this being like Beyonce self-titled, and that there's clearly a declaration of a new kind of style, or just a amalgamation of all her styles put together now. But to me, I like the album best when it reminds me of previously released Charli XCX songs. The songs that remind me most of 1999 and the good ones, I think, are the most successful on the album. And there are several reviews kind of touting how there's more vulnerability in the lyrics. And I guess that's probably true if you literally sit there and read the lyrics. But as delivered, I feel like they get lost in the impishness of the vibe. I would say, in a way, she's kind of like the Rachel Sennott of pop, you get this sardonic character who has an eye roll about her, but then also there's a lightly, I feel like a reject vibe that she adds too, like a vulnerable vibe,
I mean, I do get that, because when you think about the vulnerable sort of like reject vibe, you have to remember that she is a Leo. And
Don't put me in it. Jesus.
I've come to this theory, actually, though, that it is only really Leo pop stars who feel the need to respond to criticism of them.
Is Lana Del Rey one?
Particularly like the critics. Does Lana really respond to criticism, though?
She got in Ann Powers' face. She said, "Don't write my name down again."
She is a Cancer, but that wasn't responding to bad criticism. Like, it was actually good criticism of her that she didn't understand.
That's Cancer behavior.
She can't read.
You're dumb and talking back. Okay, got it.
No, it just reminds me of like when Phineas a few weeks ago was angry at a review of Hit Me Hard and Soft. It's like, girl, the album's beloved. Like, why do you have to respond to the one person who doesn't like it? And Charli has been quiet about the critics this go round because, the album has been getting glowing reviews, but we cannot forget last year her wearing the They Don't Build Statues of Critics shirt that she was walking around in. And someone did point out that as many as her fans were sort of loving that shirt, right? And agreeing with the sentiment that they should now be able to celebrate like great reviews for Brat, because they were claiming that reviews didn't matter before.
Right. It's very defensive and sort of childish. By the way, there should be some statues of critics. If I walk past like Leonard Maltin holding up like a reel of film every day as I walk to work, I'd be thrilled.
Isn't there literally a statue of Roger Ebert in Chicago?
I mean, it would be weird if there weren't. I love watching those fucking girls fight every night. Now, I've talked about how I'm obsessed with Siskel and Ebert recently. You and I talked about that book that came out about them recently. I now literally watch them every night before I go to bed, and I literally cannot sleep until Roger is so fucking pissed at him that he goes, "Oh, come on," like that. Like, they truly feel like a married couple. It's so shocking to revisit, because when you watch him with Richard Roper, the malice goes away. It's like completely more sedate. It's something about Gene Siskel he's fucking pissed with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were rivals, you know? Like real rivals. Give us that feud.
Right. Oh, fuck yeah.
Like, that would be a great feud season.
You can probably get Tom Hollander right back into it. Who cares?
Yeah. Now I really want that to happen.
I think that should happen.
Ryan Murphy.
That'd be cute.
I do want to say that my favorite song on this album is Everything is Romantic.
That's one of my least favorites. Why is that your favorite?
I just sort of like this idea of, you know, the image of being in Capri and running away from it all and, you know, falling in love, like, on, you know, at some far-flung party, and like the romance of it. It just feels like it feels very epic in scope. And then when the dance break happens at the end too, I mean, that's just the kind of shit I love.
Okay, cute. I actually do think I will be listening to it again and again, but I do think it is missing just a couple of crackling pop hooks that would make it an essential summer moment.
You're going to gay parties, so of course you will hear it again.
I feel like it's not really pregame material. It's too frantic.
That's true. I will say that you will hear, especially when you come to New York, though. You'll hear it more in New York, probably.
Right.
But someone was actually playing it at a party after it had come out, and I turned to them and I was like, "The whole album?"
That's right.
Because I love the album actually, but it does not, and it feels like, I don't know, putting on all of Lemonade.
Right.
You know, at a party. You know, it's like that. It's like that's not the vibe for the whole party. It's not like throwing on Renaissance. I would just say that I also feel like maybe what some people are bulking up against who've been sort of casual fans of her is that she has albums. She's always known as this party girl, and she has albums that you can play like front to back at a pregame, and the whole vibe is there. Like Crash, Number One Angel, Pop 2. But this one is sort of like the vibe slows down quite a bit.
Right. Truly. Yeah, there's just nothing really candy-coated about it. You know, whereas, like, I still feel like when you go to a pregame, the Queens are saying, put on Houdini, which is like a song I still think is like a B+, but it's more appropriate for just hanging out and like, oh, we have sort of a sexy yet we're zooming into the night vibe going on. It like propels you into the night as opposed to makes you feel like you already did too much coke, which is how I feel about this album.
Yeah. You can never do too much, baby.
Oh my God. Famous last words. Belushi at the Marmont over here.
One of the bad kids from Pinocchio's Island when he gets there. You can never do too much coke, baby. And then he turns into a donkey.
Pinocchio, coming to Max.
I gotta make this movie happen.
I know.
I gotta do. We've had enough of them, but I gotta make the gay Pinocchio pitch.
Bitch, Pinocchio is on your mind. I don't think you have any choice but to make this.
He is. Okay, I mean, I'm Geppetting, okay?
You got a bowl of Stromboli going on right now.
But it needs to be. But you gotta find the right creative team, because in the wrong hands, the Blue Fairy is Billy Porter.
No, there's a lot of dangers of casting. Like, after a while, certain character actors lose the very thing you want from them, which is novelty. They appear in too many things, you know, and then it's like, well, I know what you're going to deliver. You know, it's like when after a while, it's like you saw Helena Bonham Carter in too many things and it wasn't special anymore.
Right. I mean, well, it was sort of like, okay, work with someone besides your husband.
Right.
Who you're not even with anymore.
Right. And right, he spent 2 seconds casting you in that fucking Alice in Wonderland thing. He's like, sure, bring your fucking hat to set.
You know what else I will say about this being a whole Brat weekend? I was not there to witness it because for some reason I didn't get an invite from Andrew McCarthy. But Brat, the documentary of the Brat Pack,
I need to watch
came
this.
out this
I'm
weekend.
so excited to see it.
It debuted on Friday night at Tribeca Film Festival, the same day that Brat came out, And I got tweets from people. They were like, Ira, we loved you in it.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I filmed a talking head for this maybe. Truly, I didn't know this movie was ever going to come out because I filmed a talking head for this in, I want to say, 2021.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, I was here in New York at some point, and I got an email or something from Andrew McCarthy, who was like, would you like to talk about this? Because we're shooting it in New York. And I was in New York. I forget who pointed him to me. But, yeah, I used my friends, Charlie and Jared's apartment in Chelsea. They came with the camera crew. I talked about the Brat Pack. I remember it being very hot that day because I was sweating.
Wait, what was your take? Did you have a Brat Pack favorite or whatever?
I think they were specifically asking me just about the context of the Brat Pack in popular culture, and particularly whether or not they or like those films sort of resonate with like people our age now.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I sort of grew up watching them, but at the same time, like everybody there had a sort of like what I liked about John Hughes, he believed that like kids could have like a cynicism about them and could have really like arresting adultness while still like learning not to be immature or having like sort of primitive experiences. But like, yeah, Molly Ringwald and The Breakfast Club, I just fucking adore. I love the soundtrack to Pretty in Pink. Suzanne Vega's Left of Center, one of the great songs.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I pointed out in it that St. Elmo's Fire, the soundtrack, is much better than the film.
We do not like the film. We do not like it. Much as I love Miss Mayor fucking Winningham. And I would sit through Girl from the North Country for her, and that's saying a lot.
Mm-hmm. I would watch a remake of St. Elmo's Fire, actually. I feel like maybe it would fit as a period piece, but at that specific time, it just wasn't working for me. I mean, those kids, it's interesting that you bring that up. We've gone such a different way in how we represent kids now in media, but I feel like that is a lot in line with sort of Dawson's Creek, with how they felt sort of like adult and just the way they talked and their references and everything and the cynicism that they would have sometimes. But we don't really have a lot of like the John Hughes sort of archetypes anymore.
No, I don't remember the last time I saw it. Like, I was really impressed with the movie Edge of 17 with Haley Steinfeld, but that wasn't really a portrayal in the way of John Hughes. I will say, speaking of remakes and sequels, we're getting a sequel to a movie now that was announced the other day, and I will get to it in my Keep It. But
I figured you would.
Yeah, you know what it is. I'm just going to preview it now. But certain things should be remade, and I'll get into why they should be remade anyway.
Okay. And I think I have a surprising thing to share when you get to that Keep It.
Oh, my God. This is like Ricky Lake. You won't believe what's happening after the break.
All right. When we're back, Meg Stalter joins us. This week's guest has had a truly meteoric rise in comedy, going straight from Instagram improv sessions to her breakout role in Hacks. She then turned that into a leading role in Lena Dunham's upcoming series, Too Much, and a lead role in the new comedy film, Cora Bora, which hits theaters this week. Please welcome to Keep It, Meg Stalter.
Hi, thank you. That was a really amazing intro. That was making me smile and blush.
I mean, the way to describe you. I mean, I feel like you are, people just light up seeing your face.
That's
you know?
So nice.
Yeah. I mean, have you experienced that? I mean, it's so funny. I think that, I know you gave an interview about this recently, about how people still come up to you on the streets and say hi gay to you, which is, I want to personally, sort of like I get night chills from it now, just with how many people say it at a party or on Fire Island in general. But I'm happy for you.
Really? Are they saying it on Fire Island? That makes me feel good.
Maybe not this summer. I don't know, but I think people still say
said it last summer.
Yeah.
People still throw it out there.
Yeah, you know. But how does that make you feel, like being out in the world and having people recognize you from? You feel like people recognize you more from Hacks, or do they still recognize you from your, Instagram videos?
I think that there's a mix, definitely, but I think that I get hi gay and Hacks probably the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I also get people being like, oh, I love big bitch realty or whatever, like some of my Instagram stuff. But I think high gay and it is less high gay this year, but still high gay.
Mhm.
I think last year people were really saying high gay, but I see high gay still a lot. And then people love Miss Kayla, crazy girl.
I know. When you were, if I want to take you back to when you were doing these before, hacks and everything else. What was your first impetus to be like, I'm picking up the phone, I'm doing something, and like, what even goes into your brain when you're like, this is going to be funny, or do you just put it on and you just talk? Because for you, it always seems so natural. You have this very like naturalistic vibe to your comedy, which and it feels almost like you were improving as you're going along.
I definitely improv in my videos, and there's nothing more fun than improv. And I know it's kind of like also nerdy theater girl, but I am definitely a nerdy theater girl. But I love to improv. The first two things that I put online that did really well are there's a video where I'm in a blonde wig and I'm talking about like, it's like girl you see right before you run after the love of your life or something, and I'm like about to take my shirt off and I'm like, go get her, and then like go to her, the real love of your life or something. And then there was also a clip where I was like doing a stand-up show and I was having the person read a script with me, but I kept giving them a lot of tips and like I was coaching them like as their acting coach. I think that I was just putting stuff online for fun. Like I definitely like always wanted to get paid to do comedy, but I also like during the pandemics when I put the most stuff online, and it was just because we couldn't perform live on stage. So I just I've been making my own videos since I was like little kid.
Yeah. I want to go to the nerdy theater girl part because I think of myself as a nerdy theater person too. Literally in this episode, I was describing to Lewis how I went to see Titanic the musical last night.
Oh my God, I would love to see Titanic the musical.
Yes, and I had no idea that, first of all, that I hadn't listened to it really before, and I was, people are always enamored when they find out that it has nothing to do with the movie. And it's like
I've never seen that.
Yeah,
musical.
it came out in '97. It was sort of obviously overshadowed by the movie. Sort of.
Oh, it came out around the same time as the movie.
A little the same time. Won Best Musical, by the way. There's an old clip of Rosie O'Donnell on her show, like being like, "I love this show. It was so big," but then the movie sort of overshadowed it, and now it's back at New York City Encores for a couple weeks. So
they should have Leo be in it.
Yeah.
And Kate. That would really get people to be like, okay, it has a little something to do with the movie. It has the stars.
A little bit. It's very Les Mis. So if you haven't listened to it, like it's operetta. It's nothing but singing.
Oh my God.
It's really good.
I need to see it.
And also depressing.
You know what?
Obviously, it's just like the iceberg
it's not
hits.
a happy ending.
The iceberg hits at the end of Act 1. Act 2 is like just the sinking of the boat, and it's all right.
What's like the uplifting ending? Because like in Titanic, they have Rose throwing the gem into the ocean. Does anything like that happen in the musical?
No.
Something nice. Okay.
No.
They're like done.
Yeah. Well, you see the women and children who get off the boat, and they talk about how they'll always remember the people that they loved. That's it.
I have a real fear of like uncanny valley stuff. So whenever I see a TikTok video of like the filming of Titanic, it scares me really bad because it's like, like it's a ship in water. It's real water, but like you see cameras and it's not like, it's like isolated group of water. Like it's scary to me. Like sometimes when you're on set and you realize like, the lights come on, you're in a studio and you realize it's not just the fake apartment. Like you already know that, but to see that the apartment's built on set and you see like the warehouse that you really are in, it's so scary.
Yeah. That's scary to you?
Yes. You have to look up the TikTok filming of Titanic. It is
Okay.
so scary. You see them in the water. It's filming. It's not real, but it looks so real. It's so creepy.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I always
yeah.
imagine that with people filming in water in general. I think
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember which film it was, but I mean, maybe it was Natalie Wood who then eventually drowned. But
It's so
I think
scary.
there was a shooting like of a film where like, they had to shoot her like in the water or something. Just anything shooting in water, just sort of like because I can't
It's
swim.
really scary.
But
Even if you could touch the bottom, it's scary to know it's a real dangerous situation. What is that movie where one of the actors was really drowning in the tank, but like they had to like pretend drown on screen so they didn't know that she was actually drowning. It's like a magic movie.
um,
She's like in a dunk tank and she's
hmm,
drowning, but she's fine. She's okay. She made it. But like she was trying to signal to the director
hmm.
that she like needed air, but like also in the scene she's kind of drowning. So like yeah, really
Well,
scary.
this
They
is gonna
needed
be on
to
like if like was it one of the Now You See Me's? I feel
yeah.
like I've seen both of those.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, speaking of like, I'm gonna watch the TikTok, and I also want to know like, what do you consume then? Like, what stuff interests you that you're at home watching when you're not working?
That is a really good question. I love to rewatch Sex in the City.
Okay.
Um, I am obsessed with And Just Like That. Is that what you mean? Like what kind of movies, TV
Yeah,
I'm
movies,
watching?
be like what TikToks you watch, like anything. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
everybody loves and just like that, even though it's not very good. But I enjoy watching it
So
because it,
it's so good, and it's so like, I mean, Che Diaz making Miranda come in the kitchen screaming the scream was just so crazy. Like it's unreal. I'm watching that. I rewatch Girls all the time. I think it's the funniest show. I'm always obsessed with watching. I love all the TikTok trends. It feels like when you're on TikTok that yes, you're addicted, but it also you're kind of like a part of like a bunch of inside jokes or something.
yeah, I mean, the whole thing about the inside joke is sort of there's so many times where I guess the algorithm will give it to you, right? Once it knows that you're watching something, but you like
Mm-hmm.
TikToks that are referencing other TikToks or they are using like the voice of something else, and it's like my brain understands what is going on here, and no one else does. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but
And then you hear people reference it in like real life, like the do you know that TikTok where it's like show me to me,
yeah, show it to me,
Rachel.
Rachel.
So like if someone's saying that, if you didn't see the TikTok, you'd be like, what are they doing? But everyone knows it. Like everyone know it's kind of like sweet and cute.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like you were part of the early trend of that, right? Like people saying hi gay to you is very much I'm with my friends and someone will just say, show it to me, Rachel, please. And I'm like, I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah, the show me to me Rachel is the new high gay. I love
uh,
it. It's like so cute.
I love how you talked about rewatching Girls because I've tried. I haven't rewatched Girls fully. I tried to
I mean,
recently.
it's incredible. It's the
Yeah,
funniest, best
I
show.
absolutely love it. I think it's amazing. I love Lena Dunham's work. I was rewatching it and then forgot that the show was a little depressing. And then by the time you get
Mhm.
to the end of the series, it's like none of them are friends anymore.
I
But
know.
watching this series and loving it, then what was it like being cast in Lena's new series and getting to work with her?
It's so incredible. Like, it's so strange because I watched Girls like when I was early 20s. Like, I
Mhm.
don't even remember what. I was so obsessed with the show and just so like, oh my God, what is this? And I rewatch it all the time. And then now I'm like, oh, she's my friend. She's like, I've always thought that we would hit it off. So to know that we do and we have like a similar sense of humor and like laugh so much and it's just been really crazy because she's like someone I've always wanted to work with, and they're so like she's just so amazing at her job. Like she's so good at writing, directing, like acting, like everything. And it was just I'm really excited for people to see the show. It's really special. And yeah, I think one of the things I love about Girls is that like it is so funny, but it also feels really real. Like it feels like real horrible people that you know. Like, or like the girl that you went to college with, or like you see yourself, you know, everyone's like, which girl's character are you? Like, I think people see themselves in those characters even if when they're bad. And it feels like this show has a lot of like, Girls has everything. Like there's stuff that makes me cry, there's stuff that makes me laugh, and I feel like this show, like she put everything in it. Like it's so sincere and earnest, but also so funny. Her writing's just really incredible.
I love that. And I want to ask now about Cora Bora, which premiered last year at South by Southwest, and now is being released wide this weekend. You know, this is you leading a film. You know, it's you going to try and get your ex-girlfriend back. And what was it like to, I guess, you know, you've gone from making, you know, viral videos to then being on Hacks in more of a supporting role, I think, when you were filming Cora Bora, before we got into like the current season where you had meteor scenes on Hacks. You know, so what was it like being, I'm supporting character, and now here I am leading this film?
As like a theater girl who never got the parts that she wanted, or even like any part that wasn't like chorus, or I did play Helen Keller's mother in The Miracle Worker at one point, which was my biggest role senior year. But it feels really
the one speaking role.
Yeah. I was like one of the nuns who had one line in The Sound of Music, and I was like, but I wanted to be Maria. But they were never going to give me that part in high school. It felt really amazing to even be thought of. And then the story is like, it's so funny, and it's like sad, and it's like gay, and really like perfect for me. Hannah Pearl, the director, is just, I'm so in love with her. She's incredible, and she wrote me such a nice letter asking me to do the movie, and it's such an amazing script. Like everyone that made it is just so incredible, and I can't believe they asked me to do it. And it also is like, yeah, the first thing I ever did that semi-dramatic, I guess. Like, I mean, it's a comedy, but it's has everything, and I was just so excited every day. I could have done it, kept filming that movie. If there was retakes, I'd be like so excited to get to film more. Love it.
What do you find are like different, I guess, like acting muscles that you use then? Because, you know, it has to be different when you are, okay, I'm here on a set and I'm preparing for something that's dramatic, versus even just doing a scene on Hacks, where you're mostly interacting, you know, off of Paul Downs, who's so fucking funny, or versus just doing something yourself on camera where you're sort of acting off of your own energy, you know?
I think like when I started making videos, or even when I started doing improv class, it was like, what's the funniest thing that I could say? And that also feels real to this character. And I think that's a really good way to start. But then like when you're acting, it feels like, what is like the realest thing in the moment, right? Like I think it's good to have in your back pocket being able to say the weirdest, craziest thing that you can think of, but sometimes it just isn't right. But I mean, with Hannah, I was able to do takes where I did that, and then, I mean, when you have a good director who's invested so much emotionally, they could be like, okay, that was a little, like, let's pull it back. let's get what's on the script. Let's get a tight version, or, you know, like, let's do a crazier one. I think it's just like what I've learned through acting is that if you are really connected to the character and story, nothing you do is like wrong. I mean, if you're supposed to cry in a scene and it's not coming, then maybe like your character isn't supposed to cry. Like, I think to take some of the pressure off is like just being able to connect to whoever's in the scene and the story in the moment. Whereas like the improv videos, I mean, if I'm playing like a crazy Christian mom yelling at a Starbucks worker. It's kind of like, I think that something that's in common with the videos and this movie or Kayla from Hacks is that even when you're saying something crazy, I want it to feel really real, because that's what makes me laugh. Is like, so I think you connect to what's real in the scene or the improv video, and you have the skill of like, or you try to have the skill of like, okay, what's the crazy thing I can say? But what comes first before that is probably connecting to like whatever's real in the moment.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, lastly, I want to say, okay, you didn't get Maria in high school. Relate to your kid who's not getting cast in anything. But now you're Meg Stalter. And I feel like people are literally coming up with roles where they're thinking of you first now. So dream theater thing, like what would you love to do on the stage?
Oh my gosh. It'd be really cool to, I really would love to be in something scary.
Okay.
But it would also be cool to on stage to do some sort of really freaky, weird, like camp musical or something. Like, definitely, like, but I don't want whatever character I would be, she's not going to be an amazing singer, but she will be loud. When I was first starting in Chicago, I did write this really camp, like, sort of, with my friend, we wrote this really, like, strange musical called, something, it had something where, like, the villain in it was, like, a sex blob, like, gooey guy that, like, wanted to have sex with all of us. Something like that, that's scary and funny would be really fun.
Okay, great. Yeah, I love that. we need that. We need like your version, like a Bat Boy, like something like that, something scary.
Something scary and funny would be so fun on or off stage. Like, I love Scream so much. Scream is so
iconic,
good. It's
iconic.
actually funny and actually so scary, and something like that, like on stage or off, would be so fun to do.
Okay, great. I see it in the future. I'm gonna pray for it. And Meg, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, you're a delight to watch, and you're so funny. So,
thank you. That means so much coming from you. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you having me.
You can call Kim Kardashian a lot of things, and we have.
I mostly stay mum on the subject, to be honest, but go ahead.
I call her a bitch, a mother, a lover.
You're whipping out the Meredith Brooks for this. Every verse and chorus.
According to Variety, actor is one of those things that we should call her.
Well, technically, I have been on IMDb recently, and I can confirm she's doing some of that.
Listen, if I've called myself an actor before, I'm going to let Kim do it.
Right. Exactly.
Like, who am I to judge?
I was in The King and I in high school, and I don't know what was going on there, but we're all acting together.
Yeah. I want to see the photos.
No, I need to have a career. Please, God,
no. People keep asking us to break down this interview. Literally, you're stopping Louis in the streets to talk about Kim Kardashian sitting down with Chloë Sevigny for Variety's Actors on Actors. So let's get to it. I liked it.
Oh, what did you like?
I mean, honestly, I feel like the thing going into this was the internet was like aghast on Chloe's behalf, thinking that she would just sort of like hate the whole endeavor. And I don't think that she hated it. I think that she had fun. And I think that people sort of forget how fascinated other celebrities are with the Kardashians in general. You know, I think that everyone, because we're not celebrities, and in that world, you can be exhausted with the Kardashians and you sort of hate them. And I get that, like, there are obviously some celebrities who are like, fuck Kim Kardashian, like they hate them so much. But I think for people who like don't care about fame really, and are just sort of like cool vibes, like a Chloe, are maybe fascinated with them. Like, I think that honestly, Kate Blanchett would probably enjoy a conversation with Kim Kardashian. You know, it's like,
yes. My feeling about that is I think Chloë Sevigny loves people who are social. Like she herself is like this like party girl and like fashion girl, and obviously Kim Kardashian is a fashion plate herself. Actually, during the interview, and like if people are like, "Oh, Chloe's so embarrassed to be there," that's not true. Chloe is like peppering her with questions and fascinated, and if anything, like kind of meagerly giggling a little bit too often, like trying to like get into her good graces. I think. That said, I kind of related to Chloë Sevigny in this interview because you can sense that she wants Kim Kardashian to be fabulously interesting in addition to just fabulously rich.
Yeah.
And she'll say things like, "Were you a cinephile?" and wait for her answer. And then Kim Kardashian, all she can say is, "Oh my God, we finally watched True Beverly Hills." And I have to say, it is pretty gangsta how she can do that with a straight face.
Yeah.
Just say like, "That a cinephile? Yeah, I remember a movie." And then Chloe, who's like a straight up nerd, says things. She's like, "Well, I grew up obsessed with Anna Magnani." It's like, did you just fucking bring up the rose tattoo to Kim Kardashian? Girl, the returns are not going to be what you want. Excuse me? You think you got a Tennessee Williams fan in Kim Kardashian? And then Kim, dead-eyed, says, "Oh yeah, I like old actors too. I really like the looks of them, like their hair, like their lips." It's like, whoa, like leaning even harder into just really the look of their face is what I remember from those movies.
Well, here's the thing, too, when you think about what people are attracted to, right? I mean, Kim says that her dad used to watch black and white films with them every Sunday, and I think that what was drawn to her was obviously, like, I don't think she ever really wanted to be an actor. You know, I think she was always just drawn to the imagery of these people. And, like, I think she can remember probably old Hollywood actors' names, but she probably remembers like who they were wearing or like who designed something of theirs. Like that's where her brain goes to, you know? Like I'm sure she could pull out designers and all these things like at the drop of a hat. And yeah, it's just so interesting the way some people consume movies versus some people who consume them just sort of like the way Chloe does. And honestly, you know, it's not different from talking to regular friends about film sometimes. You know, we all have friends on the spectrum, literally, but on the spectrum of, you know, film enjoyment, you know, like you have the people who will sit there and nerd out with you about Casablanca.
And then there's other people whose main comment is so pretty or whatever regarding whoever it is.
And then there's the people in the center who I sort of enjoy, who are just sort of like, you know, they go to the movies every once in a while. They watch movies at home a lot, but they also are like inquisitive. Like if you tell them this Almodovar film is really good, or like this thing is playing at IFC and you have to see it, like they will go see it because they appreciate your recommendation. You know, so like there's people on all those sort of levels, and I think that Kim is a person who, I think if you told her to watch a film, she'd watch it. But I don't know what she would get out of it if it's not the sort of thing that she loves, like a rom-com, you know?
Right. I think there are different versions of these actors on actors conversations that are interesting for different reasons. And the kind I am least interested in is when like Leo Woodall and Nicholas Galitzine are talking and they're just kind of young actors being young actors together. Mm-hmm. What I like is something like Reese Witherspoon and Nicole Kidman, where I am always trying to parse that relationship. Like they're allies and they hang out because they both are like in Nashville or Tennessee, wherever they live. But at the same time, they are not the same personality. And also like Nicole at one point in this interview randomly snaps at her and says, "I hate when you call Laura just Dern." And then Reese Witherspoon goes, "Well, you know, my name's Laura too, so I don't want to get us mixed up." Girl, ain't nobody calling you Laura. What? Just making shit up.
I'm like, I want to know the people who call Reese Laura in her real life.
Right. Also, by the way, the extra gag of that interview is then they go back to talking about Reese on the morning show, and she has to be serious about acting. And she's like, "Yeah, you know, I flew a helicopter into the Great Pyramids," or whatever the fuck is going on that show. Just pure mania.
Side note about the morning show. I did not realize I had Scoop because I would have brought it to keep it instead of letting it hit the trades. But I went to maybe a month or two ago to dinner at Casa Cipriani in New York. And At the table next to me was this gaggle of white women, Mario Cantone,
Ooh.
Juliana Margulies.
Oh.
Okay, Juliana Margulies.
Yes.
She was talking to these women loudly about how she was not going to be on the morning show the next season because they only offered her one episode and she found it pointless to do that.
Wow. Which had to have been a technique, right?
Yes.
Like, she won't take this, she'll just leave.
Yes. And so she was like, I think they've told all they need to tell, with me, Also, she talked about how Reese and Jen hate New York because, they're not used to it.
Okay, good take.
But no, that was an interesting take from her. And I mean, as someone who played a lesbian on the morning show.
She's so funny. But Reese is like, I love that kind of actress who's like half, like sometimes she'll say something that I think is just true and insightful. And then other times, they say something crazy every once in a while. During this very interview, she said, I think some of the best actors are just imitating other actors they like. And it's like, who's to say that's not true? You know what I mean? Like, if it makes you feel comfortable during a scene, why wouldn't you do it?
I mean, I think that more actors do that than we really just sort of acknowledge. I mean, singers do that.
Oh my God. In fact, I mean, that's something I kind of can't stand about a singer. I've always sort of had a bone to pick with Elvis Costello because he always sounds like he's imitating Randy Newman to me.
You think he should have been on a plane instead of Buddy?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You think, wait, I don't have that kind of a problem with him. Yes, I want Elvis Costello, Mr. Diana Krall, dead.
I'm just yes-anding.
Okay, sure.
Yes, what ifing? No, I get that, but even in sort of the sort of less harmful ways is sort of obviously like a Mick Jagger, right? So much he's knowledge, like so much of his like dance and movement comes from like Tina Turner.
Sure, right.
Just think that people take on things of people that they are, enamored with. There's just so many writers who sort of imitate like the writing styles of other people that they love, and then they start to form their own. But yeah, I mean, plenty of actors. There's the actors who are just sort of themselves, like Kim Kardashian in American Horror Story, and
yes.
I honestly wish that she would emulate someone that she loves.
Yeah, right. That would be a good angle. Why not?
Yeah.
Be contrived if it's going to give us more energy on the screen. Absolutely. Another type of actors on actors thing I love is when there are two actors who have had kind of parallel careers, but you don't think of them as ever having worked together or having really a reason to interact. And one of my all-time favorites is Julia Roberts and Patricia Arquette, who have basically been famous for the same amount of time, but were never even in the same types of movies. Like Julia Roberts would never be in Ed Wood, and Patricia Arquette would never be in whatever, Pretty Woman or My Best Friend's Wedding, just these things. But at the same time, like the same things are asked of them, and they are the center of these movies. So it's interesting watching them sort of come together and just be like, yeah, I've watched everything you've done necessarily,
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that recently in terms of I don't know, even like queer actors currently, because I think that they're always doing these articles where they're like, here are like the queer actors or here are the queer comedians, something that are like saving the industry or doing this, etc. Right. And I still feel like people are breaking out and doing their own things. Right. But I still feel like the industry is still sort of even thinking like you can just place any one of them in a certain thing and it would be fine.
You're saying like all the same gay actors go out for the same one role. I do have to say, even among my own friends, it feels like they all audition for the same, 1.6% of parts that are available to them.
Right. And that's what I mean. It's like, it's just interesting to think of that world where I like those pairings of like a Julia Roberts and Patricia Arquette and like, who else is someone from like that even era? Juliette Lewis or something.
Yes, precisely.
Yes,
right.
Like they're all in that same sphere, but like I would be surprised if they were ever auditioning for the same role.
Right. Yeah. Juliette Lewis. Yeah. Right. At one point, maybe Juliette Lewis was up for, she dated Brad Pitt. You know what I mean? Like maybe she was considered, a Paramore figure in those days.
Yeah. Or they went out for those same roles initially and then their careers diverged. Once Julia gets it, then it becomes a Julia type, right?
Yes,
that's all
right.
People are going to look for.
Precisely. Yes, and the other version of actors on actors I love is when it's two grandmasters sizing each other up. When you've got like Cate Blanchett and Ian McKellen, who are just two, I believe, actual woodland creatures. And I know they were in those like whatever movies together. I don't watch them. I don't remember.
No, girl.
But nothing about an Aragorn, nothing about any of that is my language. But anyway, those two together, it's like they just have a lot to probably teach. You know, I mean, like these are people who would in like a previous life teach at like a British acting academy or something, you know?
Yeah.
So in that way, I feel like you actually get something rad out of those people.
She still might.
Right. She feels so teacherly. Like I can't believe she hasn't done I know we're about to get the Angelina Jolie Maria Callas story, but something like the play Masterclass. Oh, I guess, what am I saying? Tar is like that. Never mind. Tar exists.
I mean, I would love for her to be my teacher. Okay. I'd write some notes on a scandal.
Still in her top 5.
Yeah.
And definitely in Judi Dench's top 3.
Yeah. Okay, so thinking of just pairings like that, by the way, not even just actors on actors, but in acting roles, like pairing Cate Blanchett with Judy was like, it's just so, like, that was just a revelation. Like, it was fun to watch them go against each other. I've come up with the idea now that just because they have the same first name, I need Glen Powell and Glenn Close in a film together.
Now, I saw you say that, and what would the context be for this cinematic experiment? Which I'm not turning it down.
Yeah, well, no, so I'm trying to figure out what kind of film it would be, though, because you could go a lot of routes. You could go with, like, a Devil Wears Prada kind of film where it's a comedy and, you know, he's sort of under her tutelage or something. You could go with sort of a thriller, you know, something where she's, like, more of a Patty Hughes character again, and he's, like, bucking up against her or something. You could be in like a Nancy Meyers-ish kind of like The Intern movie, where like that's obviously, by the way, a perfect film. Like Anne Hathaway and Robert.
Very enjoyable. What an unusual character for Robert De Niro too.
Yeah, and so I just think that, like, I don't know. I think that we should be pairing people like that more, because when you talk about creating stars, to be honest, I forget who I was talking about this recently with, but like Anne Hathaway, right? You put her in The Devil Wears Prada, and then she becomes a bigger star because you're pairing her with Meryl Streep, you know? And I think that what we're kind of missing right now is a lot of the younger, like, buzzy actors right now are just sort of being paired with each other.
Right, like challengers, etc. Yes.
You're not pairing them with, or even Dune. You
right.
know, to an extent, you're not pair Zendaya with Viola or Tom Cruise or Will Smith, you know? Put Timothy, we've done it with Timothy a little bit. I mean, nobody wants to see Beautiful Boy, but, you know.
I love that movie. You know I love that movie. Okay.
I've never seen it.
He is so good in it. So good. But I concur. It's like, but at the same time, like, we want new Brat packs, right? Like, we do want them to work with each other. But you're right. There would be sort of an entree to greater fame if we knew how to pair old stars with young more often. And I think, by the way, Patty Hughes is the best angle for them to work. Glenn Close cowing, like, trembling, chattering young men. Love that. Damages is still the best role of her career, which almost makes me sad to say as somebody who defends movies above all else. But TV really gave her a role where she could unleash all of her power. I would actually compare it to, on that same series, Keep It guest Marcia Gay Harden was on season 2. And just what she could bring into a room on any given moment. Like when she, like, you know, buttons the blazer, walks in, puts the briefcase down.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you're just in like a pseudo John Grisham thriller situation, it was so much power the actors got to bring. I miss that show so much.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, like that, like John Grisham, like Affirm, you know, like put Glen Powell in like the young Tom Cruise role. And
that's coming. That's coming.
And let Glenn Close be the villain, though.
I want to defend you, by the way, on Twitter recently. You said that you were responding to a tweet about Glen Powell saying we only have him because Armie Hammer went away. Excuse me. Glen Powell is 5 times the actor that Armie Hammer is. And I say this as a stan of Call Me By Your Name, which is, generally speaking, a brilliantly acted movie. He is the weak link. And his character benefits from his stiltedness in the movie because we're sort of analyzing him from afar, and like the sort of nervous elitism of the character that comes across, I think is not really the product of brilliant acting, more just a stilted performance, you know? Yeah.
No, he is the weak link in a lot of films, and he's always just sort of elevated by either another actor or the material. I mean, nobody was really thinking about the Man from U.N.C.L.E. because of him, you know?
No. Though I do think the acting is across the board atrocious in that movie, even though it looks amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I watched that movie so many times, sometimes just on mute. They look great in those suits.
No, and Alicia Vikander was like, well, that's it for me for 4 years. Sorry. Going away.
She became an actual Tomb Raider.
That's right. She's like, I'm getting my anthropology degree.
Anyway, Glen Powell, what a man. I'm very happy for him, I would say, just because I feel like, I don't know, there was another tweet about him too where someone was like, Glen Powell just popped up out of nowhere. And I hate nothing more than when someone gets on the internet and says, well, where did this person come from? They just popped up. And it's like, I don't know, search their name. Like, maybe you weren't there watching Scream Queens, but like, you've seen the GIFs.
Get on Wikipedia, bring a lunch, learn something. Come on. He was also great in Everybody Wants Some, a movie I keep touting, which is such a fabulous summer movie. It should be a definitive summer movie, and it never gets brought up.
That's a very underrated Richard Linklater film, but I should rewatch that. Who else is great in that?
Oh, you're talking about Blake Jenner. May he rest. Don't know what happened to him.
No.
And by that I mean I do. Melissa Benoist, I saw that interview.
At this point, don't have been on Glee.
Also, I loved Zoe Deutsch in that movie. And of course, she was repaired with Glen Powell later in that Set It Up movie where they played assistants.
Yeah. That's actually the main reason I would say that Glen Powell had his Glen Powell-assance, you know?
Yes.
Like, maybe you forget that era pre the pandemic, but when Set It Up dropped, that's truly all people were talking about.
Yeah, I definitely watched that movie. That Netflix has like a real stranglehold on movies you watch and then don't even bring up again.
Yeah.
It's not like everybody's talking about them necessarily. It's just that you did see it. You know, like I didn't really have much to say about that movie, Bird Box. Did I fucking see it? Yes. Did I wonder if John Malkovich was broke? Yes.
Sandy B.
Yeah. Yeah, Sandy B.
I had a hell of a time the other day, by the way, playing Vulture Cinematrix, thinking of Sandra Bullock movies. I think it was from like 1990 to 2004 or something was the cutoff, and trying to think of films that everyone wouldn't pick.
No, that's a tough ask because those are basically all successful movies. Like her first big role was Speed, you know, so she didn't really have too many. I don't know, you'd have to do something like Love Potion No. 9 or something.
Yeah, baby. I think only 3% of people picked Demolition Man.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Yeah, a movie that was always on in my grandmother's house for some reason.
Your grandma had some dubious taste.
Yeah, you know. Where do you think I got it from?
Right. And look at you now. Dubiosa.
My Eraser is one of my favorite action movies. All right, when we're back, keep it. And we are back with our favorite segment of the episode, Keep It. Before we get into our individual Keep It's, there's something I want to say.
Okay. For once.
Rihanna. Fuck you. Rihanna. I'm not doing this with you again.
Meaning what?
So she is in New York. I heard from a real estate friend that she was looking for apartments.
Okay.
Allegedly to, quote unquote, record an album. And she has been spotted in my neighborhood at the Electric Lady Studios, which I live near. And the Paps have been like outside, like mobbed to catch her. Do we think she's recording an album there? Or what? Is she doing a Fenty podcast?
Right. You won't believe the depths to which you can be disappointed on this front. I mean,
I know.
By that I mean you can, because we're on like year 8 or 9 of this or something.
I know, but part of me wants to believe that she wouldn't wear a shirt that says "I'm retired" unless she actually was planning to drop an album. And she was caught wearing a shirt that said "I'm retired" by the paparazzi last week.
I have to say this about Rihanna: funny girl. Funny girl.
She's hilarious.
Yeah. She loves to agitate. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, 30 years from now, if she was just like, oh, here you go.
Right.
The funniest thing ever.
Precisely. No, like we're never correct about her. Like she always brings us a thing and we think we got it, and then like she dodged us and did something wrong. Anyway, it is pretty funny.
And I'm now obsessed with the hair wars going on between her and Beyonce.
Oh, who's winning?
I don't know, but just like Fenty hair and Sacred, it's giving you like, you know, I want a movie about that.
Yeah, that's fun. Like what's that Broadway musical, War Paint? Like these two doyens up against each other.
We just need a Beauty Shop sequel where Queen Latifah is fighting against some other woman. Who?
By the way, did we not discuss that Queen Latifah was dancing on stage with Janelle Monáe at WeHo Pride last week?
No,
all right.
I did not learn this.
No questions from anybody? All right, moving on.
I think Queen Latifah just started bringing her partner to things and was just like, figure it out.
Yeah, she's very over any discourse. She's just like, I appear, I don't appear, or whatever.
Because what would you even say at this point? Like, okay.
Yeah. UNITY? How about start with that?
Yeah. The only thing I have to say about Queen Latifah is that more people should listen to her house song, Come Into My House.
I don't even think I know it.
Song.
I don't know it. I will listen to it.
You'll love it. It's very you.
Okay. Ira, why don't you start with your Keep It this week?
Okay. My Keep It this week goes to everybody who was wondering if Bad Boys would do well at the box office this weekend because our audience is ready to embrace Will Smith again after The Slap. I don't know, bitch. I really don't think anybody gave a fuck about it except for the white celebrities who were aghast, like Zoe Kravitz and Judd Apatow, and then media companies who were like, let's get some clicks by continuing to write articles about The Slap. Because, as it turns out, the box office was fucking huge because no one gives a fuck.
I will say also in general, if you're like a huge star and go away for a while and then come back, I think that is just the best thing you can do. Like just not to oversaturate people. I mean, I'm not saying I support like every pseudo-canceled celebrity's like jumping back on the main stage necessarily. But like he literally just went away for like 3 years. We haven't had anything from him, and we love when he stars in movies, generally speaking.
Right, and I feel like the last few movies that weren't doing well were sort of like an After Earth or shit like that. We didn't really care about him being in those movies, and they didn't feel like events. And I don't know, Bad Boys has always done well as a franchise, and I kind of think that I haven't seen the new one yet, but the previous 3 I think are all great. I don't think there's been a bad Bad Boys film.
Yeah, I'm sure he's good in them. I mean, as you know, I'm always craving the return of the prestige Will Smith. I mean, obviously he won an Oscar a couple years ago, but the 6 Degrees of Separation Will Smith. Give me the Ali Will Smith. You know, not that he was bad in King Richard. I just thought he was like the 4th best performance, and then he won for that.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think this is like his 12th or something, like number 1. I think it's like Martin Lawrence's 8th, you know? So I think like now we're back in an era where we can get over that slap bullshit, and maybe he can do another fun movie like a Ali or a King Richard, you know?
That would be nice. That would be nice. Okay, my Keep It this week is to people who are very suspicious, or pardon me, my Keep It this week is to people who are shady to me and also to you about the release of a sequel to the movie Practical Magic. The words that I saw were, sorry, Ira, and sorry, Louis, because we famously do not love the original film. Excuse me, keep it to you. These are the kind of movies we should be remaking because they're fucking bad. Literally, you watch that movie, you're like, what is going on? I understand that there are some stills in this movie that are delicious. Do I want to see Nicole Kidman on a red carpet? You bet. Do I want to see Diane Wiest like dancing around a table? If I saw her in person, I would literally tell her to do that. Yes. But the movie is just not that good. It's really long. It's really like long stretches without anything going on, really. The plot is not what you want for a movie called Practical Magic. So I am very excited for those girls, and by that I mean Nicole and Sandra Bullock, to get back on this. I'm so psyched to see them. Sandra Bullock, obviously she has star power, but there's just such a commitment to seeming real that I think she brings to every movie that I guess to me, Sandra Bullock is what Tom Cruise is to you. I just am immediately signed on to the character she is playing.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I watched it last night and I love it now. I'm kidding. It's still sort of like ho-hum to me.
Yeah, ho-hum, precisely.
I was watching it, and I don't know, maybe I was high. Well, I was high because I got high and saw Titanic the musical last night, which was great, by the way. It was at City Center Encores, and it's a musical from '97 that came out around the same time as the movie and won Best Musical. It has nothing to do with the movie whatsoever. So I was impressed. It was very like a Titanic story, but like Les Mis.
No, I always think about that because that was a very popular musical at the time and like epic, but now it has no legacy. Like nobody ever brings it up. It just feels like something that happened in the shadow of the movie phenomenon to which it was unrelated.
Yeah, I was seeing it last night and telling people how good it was, and people were like, "Oh, like is Rose in it?" etc. I was like, "No, it's his musical." And truly, no one I know, even people who are musical theater, sort of diehards, like don't even know the music. So I'm impressed by it, and I hope it has a little renaissance. But anyway, after Titanic, I got home. All the practical magic chatter. I figured we were going to talk about it today. I put it on. I'm watching this movie, and during random scenes, I keep wondering what is happening because it feels like there were so many rewrites.
Yes.
For this film, there's so like scenes just happen. Like in the beginning, when obviously it's epic to watch Sandra Bullock run and jump into her lover's arms while Faith Hill's "This Kiss" is playing. One of my favorite songs to put on at Flaming Saddles.
Oh, please. I that's a good genre we should get into sometimes. Like vaguely country things we can stand.
Yeah, but I have no idea how this relationship formed between them.
No. It's one of those movies that feels like it's a hodgepodge of like 8 different scripts. Like where it landed is it started in this one place and then it turns into this other movie, and there's no way somebody sat and wrote them together.
But I think that repairing them for a sequel would be fun. So, I mean, we're getting it. It feels weird that none of this was announced in the trades. It feels weird that the TikTok of the studio was just like, Practical Magic 2 is coming. And then we hear Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock are in talks to appear in it, but also produce it. It's like, well, it sort of feels like you announced this to bully them into starring in your sequel.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Yeah.
Which I guess works sometimes, so who knows?
Yeah.
And also, anytime we get Nicole off the small screen and back onto the big screen, God's happy. You put the Nicole in the cinema and it tastes good.
I mean, speaking of Netflix movies, I mean, she has this one coming out with Zac Efron, right?
Yeah.
I love a Paperboy reunion, but in true Netflix fashion, it's just premiering on Netflix. I would love to watch a Nicole Kidman, Zac Efron rom-com on the big screen.
Right. Excuse me. Yes. If Zac Efron, who is like basically our generation, isn't considered a cinematic star, then we like have very few of those left. Like we are hurting the 37-year-olds.
You know, if he had gotten nominated for Iron Claw, might have gotten a theatrical release.
Oh, I hate that you are probably right. Yeah. That is very annoying.
Anyway, it's your fault, Academy voters.
My people. I love trashing my people.
All right, well, that's our episode this week. So thanks to Meg Stalter for joining us. And we'll see you next week.